Vladimir Putin is not inclined to stop his war. In the war of attrition, he has more manpower, his military is advancing, and the pressure on Ukraine is mounting along the whole front line, from north to south. At the same time, Russia is producing more missiles and continues its campaign of terror against civilians by shelling Ukrainian cities and energy infrastructure. Putin believes he can outlast Ukraine and eventually force Kyiv to accept his terms of peace, which will amount to capitulation. This winter and the following year are expected to be pivotal. Together with its allies, will Ukraine be able to withstand and mount counter-pressure on Russia too? This is where Russian public opinion comes into play as well. Don't get me wrong, Russia is a dictatorship, Putin is a Tsar. He can ignore what Russians think of his actions, yet public opinion still matters. If it diverges from the state, it can throw sand into the gears of Putin's war machine. It can make Putin more cautious, and it can stall the recruitment of contract soldiers. But first, let's look at what the polls show. You have probably already heard that according to surveys, Russians overwhelmingly support Putin's war in Ukraine. 75%, give or take, say they support the actions of the military. This figure, 75%, has hardly changed since the start of the war, but it doesn't reflect actual support. It reflects loyalty, it reflects dependence, it reflects helplessness. In fact, other polls that use indirect questions show that Russians feel very differently about the war, and active support has never exceeded 25% and is falling. They also show that Russian public opinion has shifted throughout the war, which is natural. It's been almost 4 years. All recent polling points to one clear trend. Russians increasingly get tired of this war and want it to stop. This is the most recent Levada Center poll. In October, 61% supported peace negotiations versus 30% who supported continuing the fighting. And that's how it has been since this spring, a growing demand for peace. The major reason is Donald Trump, who has drawn Putin in peace talks. Since late February this year, Russian propaganda has been broadcasting on a daily basis that Putin and Trump are pursuing peace and that peace is near. Oleg Zhuravlev, a researcher with the Public Sociology Laboratory, explains.
The negotiations have started to feel almost tangible. People have already begun to hope that peace might finally be possible, and yet the talks still are not working out, which is why there's this effect of wanting it even more. We already allowed ourselves to hope, and then it was taken away. How much longer can this go on? They need to sit down and reach an agreement.
No matter who propaganda blames for failing negotiations, Ukraine and Europe, Putin's inability to reach the promised peace causes frustration anyway. It's a fact. The Russian nation as a whole has refused to make a moral judgment about this war. But that does not make this war popular, and it never did. The majority has indeed accepted the main propaganda narrative. NATO aims to subdue Russia, and that's why Russia is confronting NATO in Ukraine. But the attitude towards the war, which happened absolutely out of the blue, is similar to the attitude to a natural disaster. You adapt to it. In the end, it's all about safety, quality of life, and financial well-being. And on the last two fronts, things have not been going well recently. The war is making life increasingly difficult. Oil refineries are on fire all across Russia. Fuel prices are going up. Across Russia, mobile internet is shut down as an anti-drone measure more and more often and on a routine basis. No navigation, no food delivery, no way to get a taxi, etc. Whatever propaganda reports about victories on the battlefield, the war does not bring good news. In September, the independent pollster Extreme Scan asked, has the special military operation brought more benefit or more harm? 42% answered more harm. Only half as many, 20%, said more good. In October, the share of those who said more benefit fell to 7%. And the well-being is suffering too. From mid-2023 till early 2024, Russia's militarized economy produced a kind of boom, a race of paychecks in the defense industry and related sectors. Many people started earning more, and some began earning money on a scale they had never seen before. From truck drivers to business owners, entire strata of war beneficiaries emerged in various regions. But starting in mid-2024, the war economy began to lose steam. The upswing turned out to be a mirage, almost like in a fairy tale. The pool of beneficiaries is shrinking. Those who had a run of luck, began to live better and moved up the social ladder are now sliding back down. According to Social Research Foundation polls, in September last year, 15% assessed that their personal financial situation had improved, while 27% said it had worsened. In October this year, the share of those who said they had become worse off rose to 40%. That is a big jump, and it inevitably affects attitudes towards the war. The support for the war still hovers around 75%, yet the pollsters note that the number of people who say that those around them disagree with the special military operation is growing, and this is a clear sign. The less popular the war becomes, the harder it is to wage. The more annoyed the nation grows with the war, the wider the gap feels between the Kremlin narratives and reality. Taking part in this war is less and less associated with being a good moral citizen. The president and the military top the trust ratings among institutions. But paradoxically, participants in the war with Ukraine are not perceived as the army, let alone as heroes. Propaganda portrays them as defenders of the homeland, stepping into the shoes of their grandfathers who fought the Nazis in World War II. Here is a recent news story, in other words, a propaganda piece from local television in the southern Urals.
Эти мужчины настроены решительно побеждать. В Челябинском пункте отбора на военную службу по контракту не бывает пусто. В этот раз на защиту Родины отправляется доброволец Евгений. Говорит, едет на подмогу к брату. Отмечает, его мотивация проста, чтобы жена и двое детей дома спали спокойно.
But for those around him, this volunteer Yevgeny is not seen as a serviceman. He and other contract soldiers are dismissively called SVOshniki, from the abbreviation SVO, Special Military Operation. Everyone understands they are fighting for money. They are mercenaries. And now, people increasingly regard them with suspicion and without reverence. 2 years ago, 52% said they would approve if a family member or close friend signed a contract to join the ranks and go to war. 41% said they would not approve. This October, according to the latest Levada Center poll, the numbers have flipped. Only 30% would approve if a relative joined up, and 52% would not. This is a discouraging attitude in itself, and another sign of growing fatigue with the war. Researchers are now convinced that public opinion is entering a new phase. This new phase will be defined by economic downturn and by reassessment of attitudes towards the war. The longer the war drags on, the fewer people will support it, and the harder it will be to recruit new soldiers. Alone, it might not change Putin's calculus, but it may increase pressure on Putin and therefore prove crucial next year.